Hey guys, it's Dr. Cardinal, and today I want to talk to you about snatching and how nothing good happens below the knee. So, if we look at some of the biggest snatches of all time, excluding Lasha Talikedzie, most of them have been done from blocks. So we saw Blockshev did a 220 from blocks, and that was the heaviest snatch ever caught on film until Lasha. And then we've seen, Ilya go above 200 kilos. We've seen Volkov above 200 kilos. I mean, he missed like a 214 attempt. So that tells us that optimal bar position above the knee is more important than having a quick acceleration from the ground, because from blocks or even from a hang, when you're starting a high hang, you are generating force in a much smaller line. However, you're usually generating more vertical force because you're not having as much displacement this way. So you're coming from here, optimal position, driving the hips under, and then extending vertically. Whereas, if you want to create speed from the ground, the easiest way to do that would almost be in RDL. So you see people, when they come out of the snatch, they do this. Well, the bar is really quick to the knee, but now the hips and shoulders have moved so much that to come back to center, it creates a lot of forward displacement or a bounce. So you see people come up here, bounce it forward, and then they're running forward, they're jumping back, they're over pulling. It creates a bunch of issues. Not only does it create technical issues, but it transfers a lot of the shear force to the lumbar spine. And so if you're generating a lot of torque through the lumbar spine, you have a higher propensity of injuries. So we want to decrease our chance of injury and increase the consistency of our lifts. Every lift should essentially look the same. Whether or not you're doing a warm-up or you're doing a maximal attempt, we want the technique to be as close as possible, and then our receiving position will change. You watch some of the warm-up videos in the training hall worlds, and they're power snatching, and then catch it lower, and then just as they go, they just get deeper and deeper. But the tempo of the lift and the movement of the lift stays the same. So how do we create consistency? First thing first, we need to have a very consistent starting position, and a starting position that then generates a consistent beginning of our second pull. So if we're constantly doing RDLs, the bar might drag on our shin one time, it might hit us in the knee one time, it might bounce differently off our quads. It's not reproducible and it's not sustainable. What we'd rather do instead is drive through the glutes and through the quads and generate a push from the ground instead of a pull from the ground. So the idea of a first pull is actually kind of a misnomer. It's a push and then a pull, because when we're pushing, we're just maintaining consistent back angle and then pulling through the finish. So if you watch Lasha Talikedzie's world record, his opener, his second, and his world record almost all look the same. And the reason is he's driving hard through his legs and glutes, his back angle is being consistent, and then when it's time for the more explosive pull, he can then engage his back maximally and generate the force he needs to get under the bar. So here's how you do it. Come down, knees out, arms loose. So we're using our rhomboids and our lats to bring our chest forward, and our hips should be low and underneath us, like this. So engage here, knees out. Then as we drive up, we are using our glutes to torque our knees out of the bar path. So we're coming up here and to there. So see this, here to there. What that is doing is it's keeping our profile as minimally changing as possible, and that is then generating force in a vertical direction. So bar over the big toe, knees out, squeeze the glutes, lift with your quads. Here, here, and under. Make sense? So a great drill for that, actually load up your bar with more than you can snatch, strap onto it, and then just get down and hold that position. So you should be sitting here, holding your position, and then just bounce. keep your back angle the same, take the slack out of the bar. So you're going to pull against it, relax. Pull against it, relax. You will feel that burn in your quads and in your glutes if you're doing it right. So that's your challenge for the week. Get on a bar, load it up, start driving the hips in, driving the quads up, and you will feel a much faster second pull, even though your first pull may be a little slower. So